Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite makeup brushes. These are makeup brushes that if I lost today, I would run out and buy today. And I think it's really awesome because they're also sold at Kohl's. By no means are these like the cheapest of cheap makeup brushes that you can buy, but they're a lot cheaper than high-end brushes, and I think that they are awesome quality. So these are going to be my Real Technique brushes. I'm going to focus on face brushes today. I know they do sell eye brushes, and I do have a couple of those, and I really like them. My collection's pretty small on those, so I don't really know that I feel comfortable talking about them yet. But I do want to talk about some of my favorite face brushes that I have here. At least 3 of these I use every single day when I do my makeup, which is probably like 4 times a week. So I've washed these over and over and over. I've had these for months and they have not shed at all. So I'm going to talk about them and be kind of showing you how I put my makeup on using these today. And I want to start with what I generally use first, and that is their buffing brush. I'll kind of show you what it is. It's comparable to their Expert face brush, and I believe the buffing brush you can only get in a set, their core collection set. So I do have a couple other brushes of theirs from the core collection set. One of them was like a concealer brush, which I don't use, and like a traditional flat foundation brush, which I will sometimes use for my concealer, but otherwise I also don't really use. But I bought it mainly for this brush, and I'm really glad that I got it. So it also came with a contour brush, I think. So that's what these 2 came in, was a set. The rest of them were bought individually. So the buffing brush is kind of tapered like this. The ferrule is really long, and then the handle is here, and this is fairly dense. It's not flat, it's definitely rounded. So I don't use this when I want to get a super full coverage. I really like to use this with like BB creams, which is what I used it with today, a BB cream, and then I mixed some of my Revlon Colorstay foundation into it. So this is a really good brush for buffing foundation if you want just a super easy application, quick, fast, not necessarily the most full coverage. And then if I do need to have a little bit more full coverage, I'll go in with their sponge, which is what I did today. So I kind of buffed this all over my face. Then I took the beauty sponge, I used the tip then to do my concealer underneath my eyes. This is damp, by the way. It's probably about 30 or 40% larger when it's damp, which is what it is now. I don't ever use it dry, I always use it damp. So after I've applied my foundation or BB cream using the buffing brush, I'll use the sponge, go in with the pointy end there and get underneath my eyes and do all my concealer. Then I'll take the other end and take a little bit more foundation and just focus on the areas which for me right now is in my cheek area and my chin, and I'll go over it with a little bit more foundation to get a little bit more full coverage since I don't get it with the buffing brush. Another option for applying foundation is their Expert face brush. I know that a lot of people really like to use this. It's very similar in shape as far as the buffing brush, but I'll kind of show you what they look like side by side. So this one here, this is the Expert face brush, and this one right here is the buffing brush. So as you can see, they're slightly different in size. The Expert face brush is way more dense, so you could get a much fuller coverage with it, but I find it frustrating to use because it's so small for foundation. It takes forever to get all my foundation on, so I like to use the buffing brush for that. This works really well for contouring. Otherwise, I don't find myself using it a whole lot, but I know a lot of people really love it, and it's a good option for applying foundation, and a lot of other products too. It would also be good for concealer. So then after I've applied my foundation and my concealer, I will go back and set everything, and I use the blush brush for that. This is very large and fluffy, very soft. And I use this with a powder and I tap that all over my face, and I set my foundation using this, and I really like it. Then after I've done setting my face and I'm setting my under eyes, I will contour, and a lot of times I will use the contour brush. And at first I didn't really think that I was gonna like this because it's so dense, so it does kind of provide a really harsh contour, but it also can do a fair amount of blending. So I kind of go in and I carve out my cheekbones where I want my contour to be, and then I blend it with the powder brush. So a little bit more on this, so I kind of go in, do everything I need to with the contour brush, and then I will go in and blend it out using their powder brush. Very large, similar in size to the blush brush, but much more rounded in shape. The blush brush is a lot more tapered. So this is the powder brush here, and I use that for applying bronzer, and a lot of days when I don't apply a contour, I will just use this, and it is slightly, because of the rounded shape, you can do a little bit of contouring with this without even using the brush, but when I want a little bit more of a contour, I'll use this first and then go in with this and just kind of blend the foundation, or blend, excuse me, my bronzer everywhere else. So I love pairing these two when I want to get a really nice contour and blend it out with this. Contour with this, blend with this. So for the sake of the video today, a lot of times I will use my Up and Up blush brush from Target to apply my blush. but today I used my blush brush right after I set my powder and did my contour. I went in with my blush brush. Again, it's very large. So this is a blush brush from Target right here, and this one is the Real Techniques blush brush. So you can see that kind of depending on how you use it, blush brushes can vary a lot in shape and size. So both of these are really fluffy and soft, but I will say the Real Techniques is way softer than my Up and Up brush, but neither one of these have shed. I haven't washed this one quite as much, but I've washed this one over and over and over and have not had any shedding or anything with it. So I just applied my blush with this and I was all done. Then the brush that I kind of haven't really figured out exactly how to use is their stippling brush, and that's what this one is here. It's dual fibered. It's a little bit more dense at the bottom, closer to the ferrule, and then it's a little bit more dispersed in hairs there at the top. And I really like this to apply my highlighter. I also really like it for blending because of its unique denseness. So if I kind of got carried away with my contour or my blush, this does a really good job if I just kind of lightly bring it onto my face and blend it like that. I can get a really good blend with it. So I have applied my foundation with this and I liked it. Again, it's not going to provide a really super full coverage, for at least it doesn't for me, because it's not super dense consistently to the tip. But I think this is a really, really good brush. So that's basically the brushes that I use on a really regular basis. Out of all of these, the ones that I use the most are definitely the blush and the powder. These two are the brushes that I would recommend to go get if you are in need. Drugstores, just for me, I do not provide the big, like they have, like e.l.f. Studio line provides a lot of brushes like this in size. And I use this for setting my under eyes or using, this is their small tapered brush, or using the their blush brush. This is really kind of a funny comparison. So you can see this is the e.l.f.'s blush brush, Up and Up's blush brush, and then Real Techniques blush brush. So technically these are all for blushes. The only ones that I use for blush really are these two. This one I use for setting under eye, or it's also a very good highlighting blush. Basically what I'm trying to say though is that Real Techniques does a really good job with their bigger, powdery, fluffy brushes, because these for me are harder to find in the drugstore. So these brushes, I also just wanted to mention too, you can buy these online. I got them on Amazon for the most part, but Kohl's also does sell them. So I think that's really awesome that you can just go to the store. That's what I love about how easily accessible they are. Then I also just wanted to touch on their sponge. I mentioned this a little bit. I love my Beauty Blender. So they're similar in size when they're dry. So you can kind of compare. My Beauty Blender is dry right now and my Real Techniques sponge is wet. So you can kind of see the comparison in size. This is similar in size to this when it's dry. So I think that as far as all of like the sponge type makeup products that I've tried, the Real Techniques by far comes the closest to the Beauty Blender. They're very similar in texture. I will say that I don't think the Real Techniques sponge, it's called the Miracle Complexion sponge. I don't think that it's quite as long lasting as the Beauty Blender. I've washed my Beauty Blender over and over and over. I can wash this about a dozen times if I'm really careful before it starts to rip. And if I'm using it every single day, that doesn't take very long. Like on this side, I don't know if you can see, it's already kind of starting to wear over here. And so when you do wash it, I have to be really, really careful with this. But as far as these both being super, super soft, they are. And I don't think that either one of them soaks up a lot of excess product when I'm using it on my face. I like that they both have a pointed tip, and that they both, the Beauty Blender, you would use kind of this end to apply your foundation, and for this I really like the fact that the Real Techniques sponge has a flat top. That's perfect for applying foundation and even just blending my concealer after I've used the pointy end. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Real Techniques brushes. I absolutely love these brushes. I think they make a great gift option, and I think they are great for beginners and starters, because these are the brushes that I kind of like first bought when I really started getting into makeup. So I've had these for a while and they have lasted and have not shed at all. So love, love, love these brushes. Definitely give them a try. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.